Don't be afraid to take risks. When I told my family and friends that I was going to drop out of internship and pursue a master's degree in international business, they were like, all that education and you're going to turn your back on it? Then when I told them, hey, I got recruited to move to Asia, I mean, another stunning moment of what are you doing with your life? And then I'm going to buy a restaurant or 4 restaurants. There's an amount of having to be a risk taker and not be so thoroughly influenced by your friends and family and even mentors sometimes. Learn from others, but be bold. Don't be stupid, but be bold.
Welcome everyone to this episode of the Liberty Ventures podcast, live from Richard Branson's Necker Island at the first Principled Business Summit. I'm Alexander McCobin, founder and CEO of Liberty Ventures, and really excited to be talking with an old friend, Mark Bailey from the original Pancake House. And we met through Conscious Capitalism originally, but Mark has just been an inspiration for me since the first time that we met each other. And I'm really excited for you to share your story, what you're doing, and your insights with the whole Liberty Ventures ecosystem, Mark.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. And yeah, my journey is quite circuitous, as many people know. So, but it's been just a loving passion to learn more about people, embrace them, treat them with dignity and respect, and probably very importantly, to learn how to be a better leader in the organization that I've managed to work with for all these years. So yeah, I think we're in our 35th year of the original Pancake House as a franchisee in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yeah, let's get a little bit of your background for anyone who's not familiar with you. You gave us a longer presentation yesterday about this, but
sure,
2-minute version.
Yeah. The Nickel Tour is, I grew up under an entrepreneurial father who was orphaned and never got adopted. And orphans are typically very driven to succeed. So my father was no exception to that rule. He was very successful. And so he was always a luminary in my life and a really good person on top of that. So I wound up going to college and studying architecture design, got a degree, a really good degree, 3rd highest rated country in the nation for that degree. And along the way, I wanted to learn more about business and so forth. So I started Mark's Window Washing Company as a sophomore in college, and found that if I worked correctly, I could make $300 an hour, which way back then was a lot of money for a poor child college kid. And then I went on to create an organization called FTM Investments. It was simply an investment club, and started with 4 other people putting $20 a month in a fishbowl, literally. $100 a month, and then we grew that. By the time I graduated, there was 19 of us, and we had $65,000 put together, and we had educated ourselves. We had bought stocks and bonds and securities and property and computers and stuff. So with that, I went into my internship for architecture, and I started eating at this restaurant. There was 1 restaurant location in Dallas, and it was very, very good. I recognized the quality and everything. I became friends with the owner. And I pitched him to do a 2nd location. So I was the architect and the contractor on that. And then I took some money from the investment
No, you
club.
just went from being a customer to saying, I want to work with you and expand this. Is that what happened?
Well, yeah. What I guess also in college, I worked in food service as one of my jobs. And so I worked my way up to be the manager of the largest cafeteria on campus at the time, student manager. And so I liked the business. I enjoyed it. And so, yeah, I liked his food. I liked the quality, and I wanted to get more involved in investing in business. So, yeah, that's what I pitched him, and he said, okay. So we
love that initiative. That's what it takes.
It was crazy. I was working full time as an architect intern, and we designed and built this restaurant. And I got just a minority ownership, 10%. And then I wound up working on a master's degree in international business. And before I could complete that, I got hired to go live and work in Asia. And I did that for 6 years. and I kept investing in a fourth restaurant that he built. And then during the Asian economic crisis, I took a sabbatical to come home and see my parents. I hadn't been home in 2 years, actually. And at that point, he approached me and said he was ready to retire, and I was the guy if I wanted to buy him out. So a lot of deep reflection there, and because I had the dream job in Asia, but I thought, you know, I really feel like I'm an entrepreneur in my heart, and I want to guide a company the way I think it should be done, instead of having to answer to so many people above you. So yeah, put together $1.7 million and got the 4 restaurants, got that acquisition done in 2000, made the gentleman friend of mine into a business partner. He had been operating the 4 restaurants, and so we gave him an earn-in, made him a partner. And now we've been in business together as owner-operators for over 20 years. We went on to build 4 more restaurants. We got up to 8 at one point. And along the way, I just recognized that I always wanted the kind of company that you would be proud to have your mother work at. And that was very heartfelt. That's a great line.
Let's just repeat that because it's so good. The kind of company that you'd be proud to have your mother work at.
Exactly. And that's very heartfelt. I watched my mother work for really great companies and not so great companies. And I thought, how do you capsulize that, you know, in a sentence? It was, you know, oh, we want to be this kind of company, that kind of company. And finally, I just said, you know what? I would just want a company that I would be proud to have my mother come home and say, wow, I love this company. And so that became the vision. And then I found out, well, it's easy to say that, but it's harder to do it. So I recognized, you know, the vacuum of my leadership skills and so forth. So I started hiring business coaches and learning from others and hanging out and networking. I got involved in the industry association, and that's eventually I got nominated to attend Rand Stagen's ILP Academy, and
which I've been through as well. It's a fantastic program.
Yeah, it changed my life, you know. And he introduced me to meaning, which is purpose, vision, and core values. And so I began to start to put together a blueprint of things. And even those are hard to communicate and come up with.
They're hard to communicate, but it doesn't seem like this is something that was brand new to you. You'd been driven by that meaning, by that core vision, purpose, and values up to this point.
I think what it is, it's kind of like peeling the onion. Like you know some things innately, but you don't know how to say that or how to communicate that. And so the more you go through that process, the better you get at communicating that. So that became, that was that journey. And then it becomes being a continuous learner, I think. So I just continued going to conferences, leadership conferences, restaurant conferences. I kept getting recruited higher and higher up into the industry association, which I really didn't seek, but I became the president of the local restaurant association several years. Then got drafted into the state association, became the president there, actually got inducted in their Hall of Honor, and then really started becoming more and more involved at the national level in an advocacy capacity. I've been going to Washington, D.C. every year for the past 16 years at least, and trying to educate legislators about the importance of our industry. A lot of them don't understand that we are the second largest private employer in America. And as I came to learn those things through my journey, I thought, wow, I can really make an impact on people's lives and their thinking. And that's really comes to our company purpose, is to you know, create careers for people that positively impact their lives and their thinking. And so it was, I thought, wow, this is not just my company I can impact, but I can help other restaurateurs, which is a very tough business.
It really is. The food service industry is one of the most challenging businesses out there. And so how are you embodying that, these principles, these values in the original Pancake House and what you're doing with them?
Yeah, so I think, you know, succinctly is really treating people with dignity and respect. You know, it's listening. Sometimes we don't have all the answers, but we listen and we work with people, and we understand. But we also communicate these values, and you know, it's a little bit hit and miss. Some we have really good success with, and we learn. And as I visited other conscious capitalist restaurateurs, and there are a few of them, and you know, some of them, as we know from this summit, many people are conscious capitalists. They just didn't know it. You know, I mean, this is wow, that's what I am. And so I've been to some of those that are really good at communicating. So we learned different ways to communicate that and build understanding with the associates. And the fact is, you know, it's a never-ending circumstance. You know, you constantly have to remind your own self of your purpose in life. And so, you know, by extension, you have to constantly remind the company, hey, this is what we're about. These are the curbs we operate within, that kind of a circumstance. But it's a very labor-intensive industry. People are messy. You know, we do the volume of business we do with almost 300 associates, and I tell people all the time, if I was a tech company, I could do that volume with 15 people, you know, and not have all this. But the fact is, I love it. It's engaging, and I do think people matter, and I think, you know, it's very important to do that.
So we've walked through your whole journey from when you were in college to just how big your company is now and all the people that you're serving. If you were to talk to your younger self as you were just getting started in this, what advice would you give him?
Wow, I hear that question so many times, and some leaders just spit out an answer, and some get stumped, and I'm probably the one that gets stumped. But what I would say, listening to John Mackey talk about how important profits are, because when we started out, we said we're going to put people above profits, and I'm on a new journey right now called AWCR, Achieving World-Class Results, and that's kind of Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award related and so forth. But I think, yeah, we could have focused a little more on the economics and the profits than just trying to be a great place to work. So that's one thing I would say, and we've done well. So don't get me wrong, but I think we could have done better early on at that stage. We got debt free or very early on, and so forth. So. No
well, and this is
there.
A really important point. You want to take care of people. You have a driving purpose, but you don't get to do all of that if you don't make the profit for it.
It's exactly right. It's exactly right. And so that's been good. And then also, I think I would just probably repeat the advice that I've actually adhered to is don't be afraid to take risks. I remember when I told my family and friends that I was going to drop out of internship and pursue a master's degree in international business. They were like, you know, all that college, all that education, and you're going to turn your back on it? I said, well, and so then I wound up, then when I told them, hey, I got recruited to move to Asia, I mean, another stunning moment of what are you doing with your life? And then I'm going to buy a restaurant, you know, or 4 restaurants and so forth. So I think there's an amount of having to be a risk taker and or not be so thoroughly influenced by your friends and family and even mentors sometime. And I also think, you know, I hate to, you know, not to keep bringing up John Mackey, but when he yeah. And he had to terminate his father from his own business. And that was a
important
tough thing.
caveat there, from his own business.
Yeah. So that's, I just think that's, you know, learn from others, but be bold also. Don't be stupid, I think, but be bold.
I think there's so much wisdom in that, and that this is one of the scariest parts of being in business. You have to take risks.
Yeah.
And you don't know if they're going to work out or not, and sometimes they don't. It might be a lot of times that they don't. But the only way that you're going to actually succeed is if you do take the risks to get those greater rewards.
And I will say something else that I tell people who ask about me is that I used to say, I've had more careers than any 3 people I know. And they're like, how did you go from this to this? But what I say to them is, I wouldn't wish that on somebody, but for me, it was very fruitful, because every time I changed my course significantly, I mean, leaving the country, borrowing 1.7 million, this and that, every time I grew significantly. I grew significantly, and I think that helped, and I gained different skills along the way, because as I continued to work for other organizations and ultimately my own, well, I understood. I had learned about finance. I knew about marketing. I knew about supply chain, these kind of things. I knew some human resources and stuff. That just made me more valuable in the roles that I occupied as I went on. So I think it's very helpful to grow and learn like that.
I completely agree. I mean, I did not plan to be doing this whatsoever in my life. I was supposed to be a philosophy professor back in the day. This is very different. But you take something from each one of those chapters of your life, if you're doing it right at least, and you keep learning and building on that. So actually, you said that you've just kept learning as you've gone through your career. What have been some of the key lessons that you reflect upon that you're able to share?
I would say, one is make a decision. I try to do a lot of research. I try to make the most informed decision I can make. But I think, it's the person that says, I don't know what to do, I'm not going to do anything. I think that's typically a vital mistake. Make a decision, don't be afraid to fail, and pick yourself up and move on. So I think, some people call that perseverance too, there's an element of perseverance there.
You're here.
Yeah, don't quit. Just keep going. And, I believe in, the creative of humanity and thinking and so forth. And I think it's great. I also think, to be guided by love is really important. I've told people, I remember I was on a panel once, if we have time for this, I was on a restaurant panel once, and they started asking each of the restaurateurs, is the customer king in your organization? Oh yeah, customer comes first, blah, blah, blah. Second one, same thing. Third one, they got down to me and they said, is the customer king in your organization? And I said, absolutely not. You could have heard a pin drop, in the room. And I said, I think when you can cause your associates to actually feel loved and cared for, then they're going to turn around and reflect that to our guests better than I can try to force them to or train them to or something. So I think it's very important that they love their job and they feel secure, and we actually say, I love you, I care about you. Now you can have too much of an associate focus. We've made that mistake too, where the guest gets left out. And so there's a course correction there that you go through, because again, without the guest, they're bringing money to your organization, and they have to walk away with an experience that, we aspire for that to be a world-class experience.
Well, it goes back to conscious capitalism, stakeholder orientation. You want to find a way to integrate the interests of all the stakeholders. It's not about any one of them.
Exactly.
It's realizing they're interdependent. You need your employees, your customers, your vendors, your shareholders as well.
That's right.
And you need to find ways for all of them to win at once.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's kind of the journey we're on right now with this AWCR concept. It's very interesting. Maybe it wasn't wrong to put a lot of emphasis on the associates, but it was wrong not to put as much emphasis on the guests and the community and the vendors and all those stakeholders. And we have a really nice stakeholder map, and so we're kind of refocusing on that.
Well, I'm really excited to see where you take this. Just one last question that I always like to ask everyone, Mark, is to provide context. I always tell everyone the best thing you can do in business, in life, is offer to give value first, especially if you want to connect with someone, you want to learn a new industry, whatever it is, offer to give something before you start asking. And if anyone's listening and is intrigued by your story and what you're doing or wants to connect with you, if they were to reach out and offer to give you something to help you in some way, what would you get excited to see come through?
I think it would be related to, I would say like a coaching element, or because I really have grown a lot from business coaches, and then you know, I've moved into the realm of life coaching and so forth. And I think some of the greatest leaders in this world today, you're stunned to find out they have a coach. You know, they got $600 million, but they have a business coach or a life coach or something. So that's what's valuable to me, I think, is someone helping you course correct, because really sometimes I think we need that, and you can't see the forest for the trees sometimes. So that would be very valuable to me.
I love that, Mark. Thank you so much for taking the time out of the summit here to share your insights, to be a part of this. And thanks for being here at the summit. How's this been for you?
Oh, it's been an amazing experience. It's very, I will say that, you know, I've become very embedded in my work life and also my personal life. You know, health and fitness is very important to me, and a lot of those kind of things, and taking care of my mother and my wife and that kind of stuff. But you know, I had as active as I was in conscious capitalism and other things, I had kind of lost sight of all the great things that are going on in the world and being brought forth by people that have vision and are gaining their purpose and are getting traction. And so to sit here for 3 days and just get a bazooka load of all these amazing, accomplished people. And what's great too is the ones that have accomplished so much, and they're asking for help. You know, give me some advice, help me. So I mean, of course it's a beautiful venue, but what's more beautiful is the content. And you guys are amazing. I'm really excited about supporting Liberty Ventures and the Principal Business concept. I'm very excited about that, and I'm grateful.
We're grateful to have you a part of this and to do more with you, Mark. Really. Thank you so much.
I love you, man.
Love you too.